What if the Bible you have read your entire life is missing an entire gospel? Because the church did not lose it by accident. They removed it on purpose, and what was written inside will change the way you see the crucifixion forever. Historians and theologians have debated this manuscript for centuries, and the evidence they found at Golgotha tells a completely different story than what we have been taught. If you want the truth that was hidden for 2,000 years, subscribe and stay until the end, because the most shocking part is yet to come. For 2,000 years, billions of people across the world have accepted one version of events that took place on a hill outside Jerusalem. A man named Jesus of Nazareth was arrested, sentenced, and nailed to a wooden cross where he suffered and died. That is the story that has been repeated in churches, in schools, and in homes across every continent on earth. But what if that version of events was not the complete picture? What if there existed ancient texts, written by people who were actually there, that described something entirely different happening at Golgotha on that day? Scholars and historians have known for a long time that the Bible we read today is not the same collection of texts that existed in the earliest centuries of Christianity. In the year 325, at the Council of Nicaea, religious and political leaders gathered to decide which Gospels would be considered official and which ones would be set aside. What most people do not realize is that there were dozens of Gospels in circulation at that time, dozens of written accounts, authored by followers of Jesus, describing what they witnessed and what they believed. And the majority of them never made it into the Bible. One of the most discussed of these removed texts is the Gospel of Barnabas. Barnabas was one of the earliest companions of the apostles, a man who traveled alongside Paul and was deeply embedded in the first generation of Christian community. His gospel, which survived in manuscripts found in Italian and Spanish archives, tells a version of the crucifixion that stunned historians when it was first seriously studied in the 18th century. According to the Gospel of Barnabas, the figure who was crucified at Golgotha was not Jesus of Nazareth. The text describes a divine substitution, another figure taking the place of Jesus on the cross while Jesus himself was taken to safety. Now, before anyone dismisses this as mythology or fiction, it is worth noting what mainstream historians actually say about suppressed texts. Dr. Bart Ehrman, one of the most respected New Testament scholars in the United States of America, has spent decades studying lost and altered Christian manuscripts. His research confirms that early Christianity was not a single unified belief system. It was a collection of competing movements, each with their own texts, their own leaders, and their own understanding of what happened to Jesus. The version that survived was the one backed by political power. The others were buried, burned, or hidden, and hidden they were. In 1945, in a small town in Egypt called Nag Hammadi, a farmer accidentally discovered a clay jar buried in the ground. Inside that jar were 13 leather-bound books containing over 50 ancient texts, none of which were in the Bible. These texts, which became known as the Nag Hammadi Library, revealed an entirely different world of early Christian thought. Some of these texts describe Jesus speaking after the crucifixion in ways that suggest he was never physically killed. The Gospel of Thomas, found at Nag Hammadi, contains sayings attributed to Jesus that have no parallel in the official Bible, and that paint a very different picture of his relationship with death and resurrection. Forensic historians have also raised serious questions about the physical details of the crucifixion story as recorded in the canonical Gospels. Medical researchers studying the Shroud of Turin, the linen cloth believed by many to have wrapped the body of Jesus, have reached contradictory conclusions for decades. Some scientists argue the evidence on the shroud is consistent with someone who survived rather than someone who died. The wounds, the blood patterns, and the physical positioning described have led a minority of medical scholars to propose what is sometimes called the swoon theory. The idea that Jesus lost consciousness on the cross, but did not actually die, and was later revived. This theory, while rejected by mainstream Christianity, has been seriously examined by historians and physicians alike. In 1828, a German theologian named Heinrich Eberhard Gottlob Paulus published a detailed argument in favor of the swoon theory, citing the unusually short time Jesus reportedly spent on the cross, only 6 hours. Compared to crucifixion, victims who typically took days to die, Pontius Pilate himself, according to the Gospel of Mark, expressed surprise that Jesus had died so quickly. These are not invented details. They are questions raised from within the text of the Bible itself. What makes this conversation even more fascinating is that it is not limited to Christian scholarship. In Islamic tradition, which represents the faith of over 1.9 billion people around the world, the Quran explicitly states in the chapter known as An-Nisa that Jesus was neither killed nor crucified, but that it only appeared so to those who witnessed it. Islamic scholars have debated for 14 centuries what exactly this means. Whether it refers to a substitution, a miraculous survival, or something else entirely. But the core belief, held by nearly 2 billion human beings, is that Jesus did not die on that cross. When you step back and look at the full picture, the removed Gospels, the suppressed manuscripts, the forensic questions, the Nag Hammadi discovery, and the beliefs of nearly 2 billion people, a serious and legitimate question begins to form. Not a question born of disrespect for any faith or tradition, but a question born of honest historical inquiry. Is it possible that the most widely told story in human history is missing crucial chapters? Is it possible that what happened at Golgotha on that day was not what most of the world has been taught? The historians who have dedicated their lives to studying these questions do not all agree. That is the nature of honest scholarship. But what they do agree on is this: the early record of Christianity is far more complicated, far more diverse, and far more contested than the version that survived into the modern world. The texts that were removed for a reason. And understanding why they were removed may be the key to understanding what they contained. What you have just heard is not a claim. It is not an attack on any religion or any tradition. It is an invitation to ask the questions that 2,000 years of history have made uncomfortable. The Gospel of Barnabas exists. The Nag Hammadi library exists. The forensic debates exist. The Islamic tradition exists. These are not fringe ideas invented by people on the internet. They are the conclusions of historians, theologians, archaeologists, and physicians who have spent their careers studying the ancient world. The story of what happened at Golgotha may be far more complicated than any of us were taught, and complicated stories deserve honest questions. That is what this channel is here for. To ask the questions that others are afraid to ask, and to follow the evidence wherever it leads. If this video made you think differently, even just for a moment, then this channel was built for you. Every single week we go deeper into the hidden history, the suppressed documents, and the questions that mainstream historians rarely discuss in public. Subscribe right now so you do not miss what is coming next, because the next video goes even further into the evidence. And what we found will genuinely surprise you. Hit the subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and join a community of people who believe that the truth is always worth looking for, no matter where it leads.